I hope I caught that. Hello everyone, this is MykeCheck'd95 with another MykeCheck'd Productions MykeCheck'd movie review along with my partner in crime. And for this review, we did The Conjuring 3, or The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. To preface this,
what was it, 2-3 months ago, that I had decided to rewatch the entire series from the beginning, and I'm glad I did that because I literally did it to lead up because I knew this was coming out.
The only one I haven't watched was Annabelle Comes Home. That's about it.
Actually, I missed the Spanish one.
La Llorona doesn't count.
Yeah.
I watched the first 20 minutes of it and I about fell asleep watching it. So La Llorona is loosely part of the canon.
So, the numbers that were as followed for this one. Box office hit at 111.8 million, and the budget was 39 million. Critics said it was 5.7, and audience score is at 8.4.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I may nitpick a lot about this movie that I did not like. I guess on my notes, your notes are like pros and cons. Mine are just kind of like stuff I've noticed over time. In the very beginning, there was a lot of references to the exorcism. Or Exorcist.
Like whenever the priest showed up and you stand at
yeah, and the shot, it shows him walking in the building. And then I also kind of looked at the set for the original house, and at first it looked like the first Conjuring movie house, and then it kind of started looking like the Exorcist house, and then later on when they did the flashback later with the waterbed scene, which that's another reference to something else, it looked like the house was like a combination of like the first Conjuring movie house and the Exorcist house.
So I know for sure that kitchen.
Yeah, because it looked a lot like those for sure. I had a little bit of a funny in the beginning as well. The bathtub shower scene, I decided to go Pennywise bath. Because it reminded me of the part where she gets hit in the face with the blood in the drain.
I actually haven't seen any of the It's older.
Blood in the drain, blood in the water.
But that is, I'm sure this is a common thing that's not hard to miss, but whenever the possessions become full, there's always some kind of puking. That was the puking.
Mm-hmm. I was a bit disappointed in some of the CGI in this movie.
Really?
Like, I mean, there weren't like very, very noticeable, but there were two parts where I was just like, if they would have put a couple $100 more into it, it would look a little bit better. I kind of felt like the part where the little boy was doing the contorting or whatever. I felt like it.
Those are funny.
It looked a little, you can tell it was a little bit computer generated. It wasn't as bad as the next part I'm about to explain, but I could tell that it looked like it was ripped from a video game made in 2021. That's what I'm trying to say. You can tell it's a video game, but not. The other CGI bit, when they found the totem thing under the house, right before she was like, revealed, did you look at those rats?
Not too in depth.
Those rats looked like they were made in 2005.
Oh.
They looked...
Oh, like the bone collector.
The rats looked horrible. Because I was watching... One of the rats, I was like watching its head move up and down. It was just kind of like... And I'm like... Oh, God.
I was wondering what your...
What I was outgoing about that point?
Yeah.
I know it's a very small thing, but when CGI is that bad and I can notice it, I'm just like, oh.
That bag reminded me of the Elaine Warren, what was the Deborah Logan. They're taking a Deborah Logan one.
Of course.
Because the body that was in that bag.
The waterbed scene, since already mentioned, it was a reference in my head to one of the waterbed kills in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if I was just bad at keeping track of movies last year, but I heard absolutely nothing about this movie until the end of last month. No ads, no trailers, no news articles. Literally, you said, hey, this movie's coming out. I'll believe it when I see it. Very next morning, it drops.
Well,
that was the first time I seen anything about it. And I was like, oh.
COVID.
Okay. Which, yeah, I want to say, yeah, COVID are reasons why and whatnot, and they wanted to drop the surprise on people, but I was just kind of like, we have literally 3 weeks to prepare for this. All right. I'm fine with that.
I think HBO Max I'm thankful for HBO Max because then we can watch these movies as soon as they come out without having to go see them.
One of the things that I had a kind of an issue with, it kind of feels like they're starting these movies. I know you like the Conjuring series for the most part, except for like maybe like 2 in here. I'm a bit more nitpicky about it. I feel like the more these movies they make, it just feels like the jump scares are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, oh, well. Oh, they're going down a hallway. Oh, camera pans slowly to the left. There's going to be somebody on the right in about 3 seconds. And, oh, there's Mother Satan.
I'm just glad they didn't do the, well, you didn't watch the other Conjuring, that one Conjuring and Annabelle Comes Home, but you saw
I didn't. The only one I have not seen is
you saw Creation and how bad the demon looked in Creation. I'm just glad that they did an original Annabelle and they had an Annabelle Comes Home. I'm just so glad that they aren't using the full model like that because it's a dude in a suit.
Yeah, I just feel like the jump scares they seemed more forced into it. And speaking of forced, the comedy in this movie, horrible bad timing in a lot of parts.
I disagree.
I feel like in some parts the comedy shouldn't have been there.
I feel like there was only one good comedy spot and that was it.
I feel like I feel like the timing was horrible in a lot of them.
Like which ones?
There's too
like what was comic? I only knew of one thing that I saw. That
okay,
was
okay. For example, they're like, oh, we can't get in the nursing home. We'll pay the bill. Yeah, that one's funny, but it's like.
He said he'd leave a note.
Did we really need that? Like, it's just there was these tiny little hints and bits that were like people would go, haha, funny, but it's like we didn't really need that. It kind of kills the tone of the movie.
To me, that wasn't comedy. To me, that was speaking more towards Ed as a good person that has morals, that doesn't want to just break in somewhere. It's against his character.
It's just that, and there are just other scenes that were like tiny little like, oh, haha, funny moments that if you like not paying attention you wouldn't know, but it's like it's just
the only thing I thought was comedy was when he said, "Oh, you're gonna ruin your dress," and then she went down there anyways, and then she said, "Here, hold my purse, dude." I thought, and I wrote it down as a positive at that point, and I thought, I actually wrote good comedy, and I thought that was funny. A good little wit.
I mean, like, for here, that depends on the person. I mean, like...
Yeah. Like, it's not like Jason.
Well, okay.
Comedy.
Okay, so, part 6 is a different story. It's just, The moment I started seeing the jump scares coming like back to back to back, and then the little tiny forced comedy bits were there here and there, that's when I started thinking, all right, so they're doing this in this movie. Did they do this in any of the other movies previously? And I started thinking, and I'm like, they weren't as bad. Like the first Conjuring was actually fucking amazing. Like it was nailed perfectly. I feel like when it came to the scares, there wasn't too many comedy bits. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But yeah, the only hiccups they've had was Annabelle and The Nun.
I like The Nun.
And this one, it's not bad, but it's not on par with The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, I would say. But anyways, I hated the dog hoarder alcoholic kennel dude.
Yeah.
I called him Captain Dog Hoarder Alcoholic.
Yeah, Bruno. I marked as a my fourth negative into the film. I did not like him at all, and it was so weird.
The one thing that I want to say that you and I both wrote something down on, and I want to get your take on it. When Ed came from being unconscious, and he tells Lorraine that Arnie's the one that's possessed with a demon, I did not like that transition. I hated that transition where it's all like happy 80s music, and it's like, oh, he's possessed. Wait, what? Why are we giving a happy mood?
Okay, so I think we both wrote stuff down for different reasons.
Yeah, for me, I feel like that hurt the tone of the movie.
I wrote it down, was logic. How did nobody else there know that he was transferred over? He literally yelled in his face and said, "Take me instead." And then the boy's magically okay. I could see maybe the family not knowing.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that too.
That's why I wrote it down.
Yeah, I understand that completely, and I kind of I didn't really write anything about that because, like, wind, glass, shit's breaking, everyone's fucking falling over,
I
getting
can
hit with
understand
plates
the
in
family.
the head. The one thing I thought that was funny in the beginning was the fucking priest getting hit in the head with the plate. That was kind of fucking out of nowhere.
Okay, so actually, this is one of my negatives. When that happened, I wrote first aid ? Because in the middle of a fucking exorcism, he gets hit in the head,
And they want to get a first aid.
and he's just like, "Stop everything! We have to get first aid."
Yeah. But no, like, my point was just like the fact that they were building like dread and like worry on that scene when they were like, oh shit, Arnie's possessed, and he's telling her about it, and then all of a sudden it's all like, oh, waddy ba boo dee da ba ba, let's meet Captain Bruno drunk ass in the happy-go-lucky music, and it's like, you should have kept the dread and the spooky ambiance music, not some fucking... Carry on. I hate it when a movie does that. It just kills the tone of the movie. The off-screen death of Bruno.
In a rated R film.
And again, the jump scare was... meh.
Yeah, I mean, they would show that, but then... They wouldn't show that, but then later they showed other gory stuff that they could have included. That's the thing, though. I like the Bruno thing on his death when he was going down the hallway. I thought that was good. But it didn't show a
Then it just...
murder. They should have showed a struggle and then him...
The other thing, the demon, the demon, not the lady, but the demon that it was disguising itself as. Why did they have to pick the male version of Samara from The Ring?
I think it would have been cool if they would have had a previous demon that was under control of this said person, like the nun.
That honestly would have been nice, and
'Cause-
actually gave redemption after the nun was poorly made and rushed.
Well, I think Conjuring 2 was good redemption for the nun.
That's when the nun was introduced. The nun came out after.
Okay, well, I watched it in a different order.
I was also thinking, like, why is, like, the dude, like, able to recite the Bible and everything, and while he's possessed and everything, and I was kind of like, well, wait a second. This Satanist is kind of disguised as a priest or whatever and whatnot, so that could be part of the MO. You later on realize that she's, like, the daughter of a priest and everything, which that could also play into the fact that normal praying doesn't work.
So, no, I think it was more to do with the curse. It had to have three things fulfilled between the three of them. And once it's fulfilled, then it moves on. So it was already fulfilling the first part of that. So it was moving on to Ed at that juncture. So I don't think it was active in him when he was praying at that time. Remember whenever he was in prison and she started to possess him herself, using the ritual, using the demon? They said that she was trying to finish the ritual. So I think what happened with that was they interrupted it, whatever they were trying to do, the other thing. And then she was reactivating it because it was probably affecting her.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would have shown the lawyer's reaction to her seeing all the artifacts and demons.
Like her actually being there?
Yeah, actually showing it. Instead of showing her just sitting there going,
scared as shit. You know what?
That's another comedy moment. I was like,
I like that.
I liked it, but I feel like, again, I'm very, when it comes to this kind of horror, it's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be scary. Versus Jason and Friday the 13th, it could have comedy in it because.
Now, I bet you they recorded the scene and they just cut it out.
They actually did cut out a whole section of like a new demon. The director even said that they had one planned out, but they had to cut it out. Ooh, the Easter egg I found.
Yeah, what was that about? I didn't.
Okay, so when they were talking to the priest in the Satan totem room, whatever, and everything, and they were kind of showing like a reveal of like all the totems in there. There was one little scene where, I don't know if you caught it, but they were doing a little side slide of like some of the totems and whatnot. One of them looked like a xenomorph egg. There was a lot of cliches in the movie too, like run-of-the-mill cliches, like maybe too many.
Like?
Typical old retired friend that used to be a priest and everything. Have to go to him for help. The run-of-the-mill secret decrepit basement thingy-mabobber. A lot of horror cliches in here and everything. And it's just like, nothing like for me to like completely bitch about, but it's like, oh. You've seen that in the movie.
Yeah, but you could also say those were callbacks.
Yeah, true. I kind of felt like the daughter, the Satanist daughter, like the actress they picked, looked a bit too old to be the retired priest's daughter. Because she looked about to be the same age as him.
They had exact years on those pictures too, so it was like what, 1930?
Yeah, because they look like to be the same
age. So she would be like in her mid 40s.
But she looks.
He would be in his 90s, and then she would be in like her mid 40s.
But she looked like she was in her mid 70s.
I don't know. I had a math teacher one time who was only like 30, and she looked like she was like 80.
No, just based off appearance.
Math will kill you.
Based off appearance, she looked like
Probably
she should have been that guy's sister instead of fucking daughter. My last little note I want to say is the beginning and the ending were actually really good, and it was paced out, I think, pretty well. The middle section, though it was good storytelling to get the story going and it was building, it felt like it was kind of like stretched out a bit too long to kind of like make the runtime. Like, I feel like that some of the scenes they cut out they could have put back in.
I feel like some scenes are long, like the Triple H scene. I feel like that was a little bit longer.
Yeah, because I just like
because you knew what was happening.
Pretty much. So like the beginning and the end were like I felt like they were done enough, like good enough to be like creepy and scary. It's just the middle felt a bit stretched out. Not bad. I still liked it. It's just for people who have attention spans with like fishes, they will probably fall asleep. What I'm trying to say. Like I say, like it's better than Annabelle Comes Home and the Nun, the movie The Nun. It's better than that. But and the Conjuring trilogy itself, I feel like it's the weakest one. Like it's not on par with 1 and 2. Like I feel like, and I mean honestly, COVID could have hurt the production of this film too.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think that the first one was better than that one, but I think this one was better than the second one. I felt like the second one was too easy. The way that they beat the Nun, I felt like was too easy. This one, I actually felt like, oh man.
Well, like yeah, I mean like the end game of this movie was a bit more of a challenge, and they actually had to go to an end goal and whatnot. And the ending for the second one was just like, "Hi, your name is this."
Yeah,
I think for me,
I mean, I like the Nun better than this thing, but like, I feel like this was actually a challenge. And you don't know if it's going to win. I was never afraid. I was like, that chick isn't going to kill Ed.
I feel like that. I want to say like the build up in the Conjuring 2 up to that very last moment with them defeating Valak, like the build up to that with like the struggles of the family and them not being able to prove that they're actually possessed or whatever, and then when it happens, like, oh, we can't do anything about it, and they've done all these techniques to get the demon out, and it wasn't working. I liked how that one was built up. You saw the dread, the worry, the concern, like the sadness and everything. Like I felt like that was done better. It's just, I think the main reason why I think this movie's the weakest is I just feel like maybe COVID hurt the production of it, and again, that's not their fault. It's sickness. Sickness is the reason why this movie didn't do too hot in my head. But I still liked it.
Okay. So what was your rating?
I would give it an 8. A low 8.
A low 8.
A low 8.
So an 8.1.
No, it's an 8.01.
An 8.0.
If I were to be precise pin perfect on that made sense. The triple P's. So a low 8.
Okay, so I'm going to cover my negatives first because I have less negatives in this than positives. So my first problem I had that we didn't cover yet is in the very beginning, whenever they were doing the possession thing and they're carrying the kid around, the demon had already fully possessed this kid, and Ed was overpowering the demon by carrying him, even though he was forcing him against the wall and he was moving. It's like I felt like that was a little bullshit. Like that shouldn't have happened.
I think they were focusing more on the fact on the claw marks on the wall when it came to that.
This was a negative, but it was just something that was like kind of cringe. And it kind of gave away in the movie that there was something bad with this guy. The priest who was retired, who was the father, when he was outside, he looked like he was dead, like a gray skin. Like there was something. He looked just like his daughter when she was using the connection to teleport through, and then which I didn't make that connection till later in the movie. And then once he goes inside,
And he kind of goes, here, let me help you. His skin goes to normal, and that was really weird.
Yeah, and I mean, you even said that that actor tends to play like villains and everything and whatnot. Plot twist reveal, he's the father of the daughter or whatever and everything and whatnot, but kind of saw it coming a little bit.
Plot hole. So Arnie was in prison, being convicted of murder at night, free to do work. That doesn't happen in prison. There's lights out.
Did that happen
They
back
work during
then?
The day. This was in the late 80s whenever it happened.
Yeah, but did that happen back then in the 80s? Did they
No.
actually let them do that, or they had to be locked
It's
up?
not safe. They have to be in bed at night.
There's
no reason they can't do it at daytime.
Do they allow that nowadays?
No. It's like standard procedure not to do that.
Then I wouldn't know how to explain that then.
I feel like it's a plot hole. Unless it's one of those things like that last movie with the small town cops and you're not supposed to do it, but they're doing it anyways.
Yeah, could be.
Well, anyway,
Just
so,
to thicken the
and
scares.
especially if they're going to let somebody out free at night doing that without supervision, I don't think they would do that with somebody who's been convicted of murder. Probably something, like especially a high-profile case like that. This was a small thing because I thought it was going to get worse. The upside-down cross, I wrote none cross, but it's like I was afraid that we're going to go into a room and there's 50 fucking upside-down crosses.
Yeah, that was their thing in the last few movies. Was
And Annabelle, so it would always turn sideways. Another thing with the visitors, when he was in Suicide Watch, she was, after he tried to commit suicide, from the prison's perspective, they let the chick visit him at night.
Yeah, I figured that wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, that's not a thing at all. Especially if they just try to commit suicide, that could be like a trigger to make it worse. So they would never do that.
Again, plot, story, thickening.
Teleporting old guy. When he said, follow me, he's fucking old. He's like 80, 90 years old. And he's like, follow me. And then out of nowhere, he's just sitting at the desk. And so, ironically, I wrote teleporting old guy, and then his daughter started teleporting. A line that I hated was it's just the wiring. Right before the possession.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but it hurt my brain.
That was so cringe.
Yeah.
The timing of the heart thing for Ed was annoying throughout the entire film. It's like, I feel like if he really had that bad of a condition, he would have died.
That bad of a condition, and he wouldn't have that much adrenaline in a lot of scenes he was in.
Yeah.
Especially the end with the hammer thing. If he was possessed and he came back to, he wouldn't be all like, oh hey honey, I'm fine. He would probably come back to the realization that he's fucking about to kill his wife, and then attempt to break the table with the hammer, and then fall over dead.
Yeah. Or he'd break it and then fall over dead. It's like his last sacrifice thing. Anyways. So, okay, so that's all my negatives. That's all the problems I had with the movie. I didn't have anything else that was...
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly go through some of the things I like. As soon as they opened the film, I got an instant feeling of dread from the very first scene. Everything was fucked up in the house. The shingles were down. Everything was fucked.
Oh yeah, for the most part, besides the little hiccups here and here, the tone of the film was great.
They had 2 people from Haunting of a Hill House, and that would make 3 for this
The series so far.
The series so far that had that, and those really good cast members. They kept to the theme of, in the beginning, whenever the kid is running from the demon that's about to possess him or whatever, it knocks 3 times, several times, and that's whatchamacallit. That is a mocking, and they mentioned it before, mocking Father to the Son and the Holy Spirit.
I must have missed that because I didn't hear that.
Because it knocked 3 times, 3 different times in the very beginning as he's going into the bathroom. So I liked that. Oh, the knife sound. That was interesting. Where it would pull its hands away from the curtain, and then it would make a knife sound.
Yeah, I said something about that out loud.
I had wrote.
Shing, Freddy? Is Freddy in here again?
I had wrote that I liked the gore. I'm assuming from the beginning, first scene, maybe with the kid.
You mean gore or the contortion?
Yeah.
The contortionist.
Maybe the contortionist thing.
Contorting, where he was he was going like Exorcist woman, and then he was like, let me just go fucking full out thing 1982 and be like, ha!
once he turned around, I was like, okay, that's not good anymore.
That's where the CGI kind of flopped a little bit.
Yeah. I actually wrote that I like the CGI.
For the most part, it was good. Just those 2 bits there I pointed out.
I really enjoyed the transfer, where he just was like, take me instead.
That was actually really good.
Yeah, it's
I like
a big
the effects
change.
on that. That was actually really good effects.
So
The sound cut out when they were doing that too. It was like...
This next thing that's kind of weird that they have noticed in the last 2-3 movies that they've done with them is they keep teasing Ed's death. Like, if he's going to die or not. Especially in Conjuring 3 and Conjuring 2 now. But, like, they have this dread, and then at the very last scene on both this one and the last one, when it's a happy ending, I just expect a demon to come out and rip Ed's heart out from the very end. That's why I look so nervous when they're standing there and they're just, like, all in love, and I'm just like, oh, God.
I was expecting for them to do a pan away and then be like a new artifact just spinning and like, oh, look, whatever.
Yeah.
If this is the last one they make, I mean, I wouldn't care.
They said they don't know. So they said they didn't do an after credit scene in this one because they don't know what's going to happen with the series because of COVID. I said rats tease. I don't know what I would have to. Oh wait, no, the jump. Okay, no. It was not in the basement. Whenever the kid was at the house, I could see it coming, but they did a tease with the rat in the cereal, making you think that maybe the demon's fucking with him in the beginning. And I was like, that's cool. Creeping terror of trying to break him down and to possess him even more.
The chainsaw scene made me nervous.
Yeah. Okay, the wheelchair that Ed was in, I took that as a callback to Annabelle creation with the girl that was in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
I saw that and I just was like, okay, that reminds me of that. Lawyer Scared, I really like that. Annabelle, still referencing Annabelle a lot. And
referencing Annabelle, showing her in the backgrounds, like, you are definitely not milking that fucking cow to death.
Lorraine in the basement again. She has a lot of in all 3 of the Conjurings, shit goes down in a basement with her.
And a decrepit basement.
In a decrepit basement where she's crawling and she's very scared. So that was a good callback. I really enjoyed the pagan curses and the whole aspect.
Yeah, thinking about it now, like, I mean, it's not...
It's different.
It's not a possession, it's a curse, and that's probably like one
of both.
Yes.
It changes... That's the thing, is when you do a series like this so long, a lot of people are like, okay, it's the same formula. And then they change the formula. So I think that was a really good... Because, standard thing of it, if it was just a standard demon that was possessing, oh my god, I've seen this before. Like, what else can they do? And they have something like this that actually makes it interesting. I thought the dad kill was amazing, where I thought she was...
Oh, yeah.
She had the gun out, and I was like, there's going to be some kind of conversation, and then she's going to say something mean. And then
she said, no, fuck you.
She was fucking ruthless. And then the demon kill was cool, and the end credit scene was cool, where they had the actual audio. So those are my positives. More positive than negatives in this film. I had narrowed it down somewhere between a 7 and an 8, and I landed at 7.6.
So I gave it a higher rating, even though I just kind of nitpicked it more. That is our thoughts on The Conjuring 3, or The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Again, not bad. My opinion, could have been better, but I still enjoyed it. Even though I felt like when I was explaining it, I didn't like it, but I enjoyed it. I hate it when I go into my negatives, my nitpicks in a film. I just tear it to shreds, and then I go back and say, I don't hate this movie, I just hate tiny things about in the movie.
If you consider that a nitpick and you came out with an 8, then it was probably a pretty good movie.
Yeah. But I mean, there's small things that kind of bring it down.
I nitpicked Friday the 13th earlier.
Which I get.
Down to 5?
Yeah, I totally get it, because that's a lower standard versus this.
No, I hold it to the same standard.
1986, 2021.
So I think it's under
1986, 2021.
So I think it's under different handicaps. The handicap of the 1986 one is its time that it was in and quality of things. This one is a long time series where they're really constricted to what they can do.
This is Mike Check 95
And Krieger March.
with another Mike Check Productions Mike Check movie review. Signing out.